Is the recent rise in hate speech and targeted attacks on minorities part of the Bharatiya Janata Party's election strategy, or does it signify a more permanent, long-term trend in Indian politics? For the past 2 weeks, the BJP's critics in India and abroad have been demanding that its top leaders break their silence on the calls for genocide made at the Haridwar Dharm Sansad. Well, this week, the party did break its silence, but not in the way that people had hoped.
जो धर्माचार्य हैं उनको अपनी बात अपने मंच से कहने का अधिकार होता है। आप हिंदू धर्माचार्यों की बात क्यों करते हो? आप बाकी धर्माचार्यों के द्वारा क्या क्या बयान दिए गए हैं उनकी बात क्यों नहीं करते हो? जम्मू कश्मीर से इतने 370 हटने से पहले कितने लोगों को वहाँ से पलायित करना पड़ा, इसकी बात क्यों नहीं करते हो? मतलब आप भी देखिए, आप जब सवाल उठाओ तो फिर सवाल केवल एक तरफ के नहीं होने चाहिए, आप भी इसको ध्यान रखो। अगर कोई मेरा धर्म संसद भारतीय जनता पार्टी की नहीं, धर्म संसद भारतीय जनता पार्टी की नहीं है, वो संतों की होती है। संत अपनी बैठक में अपने कार्यक्रम में क्या कहते हैं क्या नहीं कहते हैं ये उनका विषय है।
Maurya is not a low-level functionary. He is the Deputy Chief Minister of the state of Uttar Pradesh. When he engages in whataboutery and actually defends the sadhus' rights to call for mass violence, this is as close as an official endorsement for the call for genocide as you're going to get. Incidentally, the Genocide Convention of 1948, which India is a signatory to, obligates the states to not just outlaw and prosecute those engaging in genocide, but also those who are calling for genocide. This week, two international watchdogs, the Amnesty International and Genocide Watch, which is an international organization, have stated that Prime Minister Narendra Modi's regime in India and extremist Hindu violence is going to push India's Muslims to a genocidal stage and probably to a massacre.
A call for genocide is, by the Genocide Convention, also genocide. That's Article 3 of the Genocide Convention. Now, if that is the position, it's a very serious offense. It's really a crime against humanity.
What Justice Lokur is saying is that the obligation to act against genocide refers not to the actual incidents of mass killing, such as what we saw with the Nazis did to the Jews, or the large-scale killing of Tutsis in Rwanda in 1994, but also to the preparatory steps without which mass killings can rarely occur, such as the exhaustions of violence against a targeted group, the threats of killing or killing itself, and the disenfranchising and the expulsion of them. In a recent article in The Wire, Professor Arjun Appadurai uses the term genocidalism. It describes the moment in history of genocide in which the production of violence has to be massively ratcheted up to keep up with the minimal required level of nationalism. Appadurai sees an intimate relationship between nationalism and violence, and more the extreme the nationalism, the greater the violence it calls for. Genocidalism, he says, is systemic and totalizing and extractive. To quote, it says that it demands full attention, full commitment and full participation from the largest possible number of people. He might have added, based on the experience elsewhere, that genocides are the most effective when they turn ordinary people into accomplices. That is why the efforts are constantly on to make ordinary Hindus feel insecure and under siege. To come back to the question that we asked at the beginning of this video, Appadurai says that the Haridwar Dharm Sansad and the impunity which is enjoyed by the sadhus who had called for the mass killing of Muslims is that India has entered a phase of genocidalism. The targeting and the scapegoating of Muslims has continued unabated since then. Last week, speaking at a conclave which was organized by Doordarshan, Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Adityanath said, and I quote, that it will be 80% versus 20% in Uttar Pradesh polls and that the BJP will retain power, adding that his party will fight the upcoming elections on the planks of nationalism, good governance and development. The 80% supporters will be on one side while 20% will be on the other. He said this and I quote that I think 80% will move forward with a positive energy, whereas the 20% have always opposed us and will oppose us further. The 80-20 split mirrors closely the demographic balance in Uttar Pradesh between Hindus and non-Hindus. Earlier too, Adityanath had trained these propaganda guns on the state's Muslims, mocking those who use the phrase Abba Jan, which is a common Urdu term for father, and accusing them of grabbing food grain which was meant for the poor. Hindutva activists and so-called religious leaders had taken an oath in Haridwar's Dharm Sansad to turn India into a Hindu Rashtra. Following the calls for genocidal speeches at the Haridwar hate conclave, the Dharma Sansad, Hindutva leaders such as the Yatina Singhanand and Swami Prabodhanand had returned to UP and delivered another genocide speech in Ghaziabad on the 2nd of January 2022. Videos of the event had sparked outrage, prompting demands for action. In one clip that went viral, a speaker at the gathering told the crowd that people should not be worried about going to jail for killing Muslims. And I quote this, that even if it's just 100 of us, and if we become soldiers and kill 2 million of them, we will be victorious. If you stand with this attitude, then only then will you be able to protect the Sanatana Dharma, which is an absolute form of Hinduism, a woman had said. Uttarakhand is ruled by the Bharatiya Janata Party, whose rise to power in 2014 has led to a spike in attacks against Muslims and other minorities as well. Despite actively participating in the formulation of the 1948 Genocide Convention and ratifying it on the 27th of August 1959, India has not enacted any specific law for dealing with genocide and has taken no concrete steps pertaining to genocide under its international and constitutional obligation, even though India has so many legislative structures to choose from. And by failing to take action against Hindutva leaders for their genocidal threats, India is breaching its terms. The increasing number of hate crimes against minorities has raised several questions about the consequences of online hate speech and its relationship with the violent acts, as well as the role of big tech companies and the state in supporting these speeches. Online rumors, hate speeches have contributed to violence. Recently, in its investigation on tech fog, The Wire had highlighted how the foot soldiers of the BJP were manipulating trends and hashtags, amplifying the voices of Hindu right-wing leaders on social media, and automating hate by making sophisticated tech available in a bid to troll journalists, call polarization, and communal incitement. In another instance, the combination of tech and communal targeting had become evident when photos of over 100 female journalists and Twitter users who are known to speak their mind were uploaded onto GitHub, which is a website wherein their photos were auctioned and communal slurs were also hurled at them.
Get a sneak peek of exclusive content before everyone else, for channel members only. Memberships start at ₹89. Hit the join button below.